So I'm going to be reviewing episode 155 of Fairy Tale. Never saying it like that again. So this particular episode, the Grand Magic Game starts slowly being introduced, how it's going to go down and whatnot, and it was pretty interesting. Not as good as last week's in my opinion. I was more interested in last week's because of the whole Urza and Jalal stuff and just seeing Jalal come back, but there was still some pretty interesting stuff going on. Episode starts off with Makarov choosing who's going to be participating in the Grand Magic Games, and to be honest with you, I was a little disappointed with who was chosen. Not entirely, but a couple of members that, or well, one particular member that wasn't chosen, I thought was a big mistake. And Makarov didn't choose Loxus, Guildarts, obviously, because they weren't around, or even Gajeel because they weren't around. But the people he did chose were Natsu, Urza, Gray, Lucy, and Wendy. And Mirajane is right there. I mean, come on. You could have took out Wendy and put Mirajane. Urza said that this was chosen based on teamwork. But regardless, Mirajane is like a billion times more powerful. She's one of Fairy Tail's most strongest. So they definitely should have had Mirajane in there. But we'll see what happens with that later on. No offense to Wendy or any Wendy fans, but come on. Mirajane for the win. I'm just saying. We see Leon, and I was actually pretty impressed with Leon. I was like, finally, somebody that's not scared of girls. Because he's actually trying to put the moves on Jubia, while Gray is like, no boobies, please, no boobies. And he's actually trying to put the moves on her, so I was actually pretty impressed with Leon. He came off as a little bit of a douchebag, but still, nonetheless, I was like, yeah. And meanwhile, Jubia is just there, like, clueless as to what's going on. Then we actually get an encounter with Sting and Rogue, and they come off as such cocky douchebags, even more so than in the manga, in my opinion. Even their cats, Lecter and Fro, and might I add, Lecter is an asshole. I didn't really get this vibe for some reason. Like, he talked crap in the manga, but I guess just seeing him and hearing the voice actor, which sounds obnoxious as well, the voice that he's using for Lecter, they just come off as assholes talking trash. All of them are talking trash to Natsu and all of them, saying how they're real dragon slayers because apparently Sting and Rogue were raised by dragons, and they also have the Lacrima in their body, so they feel as though they're third generation dragon slayers, and they're just that much more better than them. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but they talk a lot of trash, and I just hope that they can back it up. Manga readers get a good LOL out of that. And also, they talk real big as well, because they claim as dragon slayers, they killed their dragons, which I think is still a load of horse shit. I don't think they killed anything, especially they had to have been real little to kill their dragons, so I highly doubt that they kill their dragons. I think that that's just bullshit, but that's just my opinion. Also, quick note, it kind of dawned on me how Hiro basically completely wrote off the romance between Natsu and Lisanna. I remember when I first started watching Fairy Tail, I thought there was going to be a huge thing between the two of them. You know, Hiro kept on mentioning it, and in this episode we see them walking together and they don't even have any interaction. What happened to the romance? What happened to that relationship? Did Hiro just completely write that off, like he didn't like that idea anymore, he just didn't want the romance or something? That's a little disappointing, because when I started watching Fairy Tail, for some reason I really liked that pairing, and I really liked the idea of when she finally got back, I was like, oh, now Natsu and her are gonna get together. And we see her in this episode next to Natsu, and they don't even say a word. They don't even look at each other. Like, what happened to that? And basically the Grand Magic Games take off, but something is amiss because Wendy didn't get back in time at 12 o'clock, and it starts off, and they gotta replace her apparently, and that's where the episode ends off. Now, what happened to Wendy? I'm not gonna spoil anything again, I've read the manga, but everything just seems really mysterious, and I like the atmosphere of this episode. It really gave you a mystique and a little bit of like, what's going on. Also, Elfman looks a little different. I don't really... I've seen him in the manga, of course, and everything, but I don't know, he looks a lot different in the anime compared to his previous form, or maybe it's just that I haven't really seen Elfman in a while or paid attention. But overall, again, decent episode. I really wanted to beat the shit out of Sting and Rogue because they were annoying as hell, and Lecter and Fro talking so much, like, you're not as good as Happy, okay? I don't care what you guys can talk, Happy is funny, you guys are bums. And yeah, decent episode. I enjoyed some of it, but I got a couple of gripes. Like I said, why not Mirajane in there? Leon for the win. He's actually going for some booty. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about this episode. Pretty decent. Let me know what you thought of it. What did Hiro just write off the Lisanna Natsu connection? What did he do with that? Why didn't he choose Mirajane? I mean, teamwork, yeah, but Mirajane works in teams with them fine. She's awesome. She listens and everything like that, so there's nothing. And if you're an anime-only viewer, where's Wendy? What's going on with Wendy? But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up if you can't wait for next episode to see what happened with Wendy and see how the anime adapts some of this manga stuff, because they're doing a pretty decent job. Animation hasn't been too flawless or anything. It's not been the best, but it's still, pretty decent. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.